Let me ask you this question. Have you ever gone somewhere thinking that it was just another day, nothing special? And then you realize that God had positioned you there, in that position, in that place for somebody else, not for a platform, not for attention, not because you felt spiritually prepared that day, but simply because somebody needed a reminder. You see, someone needed to know that God still sees them. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about being in the right place at the right time. Because sometimes our greatest ministry moments happen in the most ordinary of places. Thanks for joining us on Faith and Focus. So today I want to keep it simple, if that's okay with you guys, because I think sometimes we overcomplicate what it actually means to be used by God. See, we imagine that there has to be a pulpit, there has to be microphones, there needs to be church services, revivals, prayer groups, but many times God moves through everyday encounters, random conversations, unexpected interruptions, simple acts of obedience. And recently, I had two back-to-back moments that reminded me of this simple truth. So if you don't mind, I like to just share my moments with you. See, these moments reminded me that you don't have to look the part to be used by God. You just have to be willing. So recently, I started rearranging my garage. So I went to go pick up two kayak stands off of Facebook Marketplace. Nothing deep, just a regular purchase. Met with the gentleman, we exchanged greetings, we talked for a moment, we made the exchange, and then I was about to leave. And then a gentleman stopped me and he asked me a real simple question. He said, "Is there anything I can pray with you for?" And honestly, it caught me off guard. And for a second, I couldn't even think of anything specific to say. Not because my life is perfect, because my life isn't perfect, but because I wasn't expecting a holy moment in the middle of an ordinary kayak transaction. So he looked at me again and he said, "I don't know, how about world peace, generosity, and gratitude?" So I agreed, because who doesn't need prayer, right? So he prayed for me. And afterwards, I felt led to pray for him too. Now here's the catch. I'm in my gym shorts, my flip-flops, my t-shirts. Y'all know how I do. It was nothing special. I didn't look churchy, but I prayed anyway. It was a simple prayer, a genuine prayer, a sincere prayer. Though, that's what I thought anyway. And when I finished, he looked at me and he said, "You must be somebody's grandma, the way I felt that prayer." And I laughed because I am. And then I remember thinking, wow, because what he felt, it wasn't a performance, it was sincerity. And as powerful as that moment was, God showed me the same lesson again in a completely different setting. So my spouse and I were on a trip. We're out with some very close friends. We're celebrating their 25th anniversary. And the day after, they say, "Hey, let's go to brunch." So we say, "Hey, great. We're going to go to brunch. It's going to be good food, good conversation, good energy. Just enjoying life, enjoying friends." And at some point during the meal, somebody asked the waitress this simple question: "Hey, how's your day going?" And instead of the typical, "I'm good, it's a great day" response, everything she shared with us was heavy. You could hear the exhaustion in her voice, discouragement, stress, pain. And immediately I heard the Holy Spirit say, "Pray." Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet instruction in my spirit. So I asked her, "Can I pray for you?" And right there in the restaurant, we prayed for her. Again, nothing polished, just obedience. But what we didn't know was that this woman was battling cancer. Her insurance had stopped covering the treatments due to political whatever's that's going on. You understand. She was trying to survive and cover her medical expenses. And life had been hitting her from every angle. And in that moment, I realized something. We thought we came for the brunch, the chicken and the waffles, the fish and the grits, the peach pancakes, the lobster with hollandaise sauce. But God had positioned us there to remind someone that He still hears their cries. And that's the thing about the Holy Spirit. See, He knows what people are carrying even when we don't. And sometimes people are smiling while silently drowning. They're functioning while falling apart. And see, God will take ordinary people in ordinary moments to answer the prayers that nobody else hears. See, 1 Samuel 16:7 says, man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. See, God wasn't looking at my outfits in either occasion. He was looking at my availability. See, Romans 8:26 reminds us that the Holy Spirit helps us in our weakness. And that means that I didn't have to have the perfect words. I just had to be willing to listen. You see, and in both of those moments, I learned the same lesson. Ministry isn't confined to church buildings. See, sometimes ministry happens in parking lots, at restaurants, doing errands, and everyday conversations. And maybe the reason God sends us into certain places is because somebody there needs hope. They need encouragement. Maybe somebody there needs a confirmation that God is still looking and watching over them. So the next time you feel prompted to speak, encourage, or pray, don't ignore it, because your obedience could become the very thing that helps somebody keep going. See, the right place, the right time, the right spirit of obedience. And then suddenly, an ordinary moment becomes holy ground. So, if this message spoke to you, then I want you to remember this. You don't have to look spiritual to be used by God. You just have to stay available. And this week, I want you to pay attention, because somebody's answered prayer might walk into your path unexpectedly. See, this is Faith and Focus. Join us next week and be blessed.